Hello, everyone. This is Caroline with Expat Interviews, Thriving Abroad, where I get an opportunity to speak with beautiful, amazing, wonderful, fantastic, I don't know, I can't think of any more adjectives, people that are doing amazing things, living abroad, living their best life. And so excited today to talk with Siobhan, who is living her best life in Ecuador. Welcome, Siobhan. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your story.
Oh, thank you very much, Carolyn. I feel honored for the opportunity to share my story with you as well as your group.
Great. So let's get into a little bit of Ecuador. How did you come up with that place on your list of places? I'm sure to go and discover and explore.
Well, Carolyn, I started out with, I basically, we lived, my family, my husband, as I called him now, and my 2-year-old daughter, we moved to London for 2 years due to his work, and that was 20 years ago. And we had decided then that we wanted to stay actually in London. We ended up having to come back, but it instilled in us um, the desire and instilled in me, as well as in my daughter, to travel and also to possibly live abroad, move abroad again. As things have evolved, fast forward 20 years, I had changed that dynamic or that plan for myself to, and I started by basically selling off 30 years worth of my life in Dallas, Texas. I'm originally from Belize, lived between Belize and Brooklyn, but I had spent the past 30 years, most of my adult life in Dallas, Texas. And so my plan was to put what little bit that was left in storage and just to start my nomad life. I wanted to start exploring as many countries as possible, slow travel as possible, for about 6 to 7 months every year, starting 2020, and then come back to Dallas in September through January to work what for me is my primary working season. And that is because I'm a healthcare insurance agent and advisor, and I specialize in Medicare. So my plan was to explore South America first a little bit more, and because I had been there to Argentina the summer before when my daughter was doing her study abroad. So Ecuador, Colombia was the first two countries that I had on my list. I had my plan. Our agenda for 2020 was to come back to the United States, um, attend my daughter's graduation from college, and then she and I were going to travel to Croatia and Slovenia because she was going to be presenting at a conference there. Then she was going to come back to the United States to join the Peace Corps and go to Panama. And then I was going to go on to Spain and Portugal, which would have wrapped up my 6 countries by 6 months itinerary, finishing up in Portugal the end of September and coming back to Dallas. Well, as we know, nobody's plans went the way that we expected in 2020. I came, Ecuador was on my agenda as my first country for 3 weeks, 1 week in Guayaquil, 1 week in Cuenca, and 1 week in Quito. I landed in Quito on the night that they locked the borders. And that was for four months. And as I started to observe how the United States was handling, how things were being handled, let's face it, there was a storm. It wasn't just COVID, it was George Floyd, it was the administration, it was just madness. But particularly as I looked at how the pandemic was being handled in the United States, um, I decided that this was going to be the safest place for me to stay. I even consulted with my doctor, and she said as much as well. And so I thought, okay, what's going to be another maybe 3 months, or so. I left with the plan to be gone for 6 months. I can, I can stay 3 months. Well, as it turned out, I'm still here. I'm in my 11th month now in Quito, and it has become a wonderful haven. I love it. It's a wonderful city. I can see it as almost like an ongoing base for me as I nomad around the world, which is still my plan to do. And so what happened though is that as a result of staying here, I became what I'm now calling an unintentional digital nomad. and towards that end, I basically pivoted my business to be able to do it remotely. And it finally, as I continued to do the work, engage my clients over the phone, half of them didn't even, they thought I was still in Dallas. and it occurred to me that, hey, wait a minute. I don't have to go back and plant myself in a Walmart for 2.5 months, unless I want to, during open enrollment. I can continue to do this and actually be a digital nomad year round. And towards that end, I started looking for other, what I call later life digital nomads. And that's where I am right now, continuing to work for my clients remotely, and also to start, for lack of a better word, a new group of people who have the same interest of being a digital nomad through, through their semi-retirement or whatever.
Well, it's incredible, your story, and you're able to say it in 5 minutes or less. It's an incredible story. I'm really surprised that, I'm sure you have too. We've read so many stories of people that have had disastrous, issues and occurrences during COVID, being abroad. But then, you'll hear so many really nice after the fact stories and things that have just come out, so many positive experiences that people have had. So it's really nice to hear that the COVID actually was a positive for you, especially,
Yes.
especially living abroad. I feel like a lot of people are concerned about, living abroad and getting stuck. I was stuck in a country during Civil War. And, so it's kind of something that we all keep, front and center and present, but that's amazing. So let's talk about a little bit about this digital thing. And, because many people, let's say the 50 plus, are not really tech. I mean, we've just kind of, we or they or us or have just kind of come into the technical space.
Yes.
As far as with Zoom and things, and for some people, it's probably very foreign, in fact. So how do you see this moving forward for people that are a little bit, uneasy, uncomfortable with the technical space?
Yes. Okay. I understand where you're coming from. Um, there are a lot of people who are like in their late 50s, early 60s, or whatever, who they think to themselves that they're not comfortable with the technical space. But when they really think about it, we've been working with computers and the internet and all that for the past 20 years. It's just the matter in the work environment. It's a matter of now saying, okay, how am I going to make my own living? Or possibly, a lot of people now, there is an increased frequency of people who are in their 50s and 60s who are looking at, as a result of COVID, are looking at either one of two things. They're looking at the fact that, I'm not too crazy about my job, but looks like I'm going to be doing this for a long time, because they took a major financial hit during COVID. Or in my situation, I really love the work that I do. I love the engagement and assisting people. And it's a job that way before, I'd always thought, man, I can do this for the rest of my life. When people, as people are starting to look at those dynamics of, go ahead, of their work world and how it's changing. Either they're working for a company that's now telling them, hey, you can work remote for as long as you want to. Some people, it's, you got to stay in the United States though. You can roam the 50 states or whatever, but you got to stay in the United States. Or it's, you can work from wherever you got a good internet connection, because we are depending on that as a company to be able to communicate with you and for you to do your job. So what a lot of people are, I'm beginning to, as more and more people are being attracted to, first my Facebook group, which is Digital Nomads Beyond 50 Network, which I'm designing to really be a resource for people who are either currently working, traveling remotely, they're planning to do this maybe now or in a couple of years, or they're just simply curious about this option, this possible option. I want them to be able to come to the site, and my website actually is going to be coming up soon, to come to this site, to be able to get resources, to be able to get support, to be able to ask their questions. And, you know, we have, as a part of the group, we've got business strategists, we have career strategists, we have the type of resources that are all in one place to help people make this type of a transition. It was relatively easy for me because, as I said before, I already worked for myself, and we were already allowed to do Medicare applications online. In fact, when I put together my digital marketing plan, I was ahead of the curve with the resources that we were getting from insurance companies. So I was pretty much building it all myself on the internet, you know, using technical skills. And I'm in my 60s, for goodness sakes. So people can do it. And especially there are a lot of people who are looking and says, you know, rather than just simply retiring, I'd like to do something, just something to supplement my Social Security or my pension. It doesn't have to be a no-brainer. It can be, if you're working for yourself, you can structure it as best that works for you and still have a little bit of income, still keep that mind going and fresh with the technology, and still enjoying travel. Don't wait, I say, to when you actually to retire and just go plant yourself in another country.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I like to say you don't have to move abroad to live abroad.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I
Because
like that.
the difference is was when you move abroad, you got to deal with a lot of paperwork. You got to move. People are moving with way too much furniture that they're trying to rebuild their life in another country. Why do that? You know, but when you live abroad as a digital nomad, you know, you go to a country, typically you've got a 90-day, 3-month visa. That's a lot of time to be able to explore a country and enjoy it on a slow basis, instead of seeing one place here, one place there, one day here, whatever. You can really enrich yourself in the people, the culture, the food, the food of the country. And then, you know, your visa is up. You have enriched the country financially by just simply being there. You go to another country, and if you liked one of the countries that you've already been to, just go back and spend another 3 months, you know, under the same visa. Although a lot of people who are digital nomads are being able to take opportunity of some of these countries that are offering year-long visas. So, but there are strings attached to that as well too. Sometimes you got to show. I just looked at Montserrat. They've just announced a digital nomad visa. you got to show that you've got about $70,000 a year coming in guaranteed in income to get their visa, which costs $500. So once again, another advantage why you would want to be a digital nomad and explore the world as compared to just simply, um, have a static location. So.
Circling back to Ecuador, what is it about Ecuador that you enjoy for someone who's never been to South America? What is the vibe
Okay.
like there?
The people, now mind you, the place that I've stayed the longest, I've been in COVID isolation. So one of my deepest regrets about being here, by the time I leave, it'll be a year next month, is the fact that my Spanish has not improved. My Spanish is still where it was when I got here. But that's because my social interaction has been limited. But just the people who I've encountered, and we're all behind masks, because this is a country that immediately they were having a disastrous and deadly situation going on in Guayaquil when this pandemic first started. And they took the small country advantage, is what I refer to it as. The country is about the size of Nevada, the state of Nevada. They took the small country advantage to lock this place down. And for 4 months, you could not even go between the provinces, which is like the equivalent of going from Texas to Louisiana or to Arizona. You had to stay within your province. There was a curfew from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 5 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the morning to get people contained. And immediately the first week, mask became a fine penalty requirement that if you were out of your home or your office, well, the offices were all closed, everything was locked down throughout the country, but masks were immediately required with a fine of $100, $150. So but even when I started venturing out, and now of course I'm moving around a little bit more, went to the Galapagos Islands and other provinces as well. Even behind the mask that we all are having to still wear, you can see the warmth, you can see the kindness in the people here of Ecuador. I have felt, as a person, as a woman of color, 6 feet tall, walking around in a country where the average size, both male and female, is probably about a foot shorter than I am. I did stand out. I do stand out. But no one I've never felt outside. And I also had the wonderful opportunity to be renting this condo from the most incredible family that you can ever imagine. They have literally embraced me as a family. They live about 15 minutes away. They're always checking on me. How are you doing? Are you still alive? And to the extent where they've even taken me with them on family day trips. And we went to the coast, the Pacific coast, on a 5-night holiday with them that I was invited and enjoyed with them. So when I say these people are so warm and so friendly here in Ecuador, that's what I'm talking about. And the food is delicious. The food is wonderful. And that's the best. I don't want to go on too long because I don't want to run out of time, but that's what I can say about Ecuador. A lot of people don't think of Ecuador, but they really should. It's really a wonderful place to be.
That's good to know, especially for people that are going to be looking. I feel this year is going to be the year when a lot of people are going to be looking for other spaces to get to know and to travel. Even with COVID, I feel there's a need to just get away from your comfort zone and just do something different. So that sounds really good. The last thing I wanted to ask you, what is the type of profile would you say, if one exists, for someone that is who would fit this profile of wanting to just be a nomad? I mean, let's say I have my home in Nebraska, do I sell my home, put my stuff in storage and travel, or should I just, rent out the house and then just hit the road? What are your suggestions?
You could do both. There are so many options under the whole digital nomad framework. And even as we have, lots of members joining every day, I just really just opened it up to start inviting people to join the Digital Nomad Group network on Facebook. And when I look at, we have them ask a few questions, at the beginning before as they're coming in as members. And they're all over the board. There are people who are already retired. There are people who are looking to do semi-retirement, where they're doing a bit of work on the side. There are people who are planning to do what I originally had set out to do, and that is to keep their homestead for like maybe half the year and then travel the other half of the year. In both places, they are still doing the work that they want to do or have to do remotely, whether they're in their home or whether they're traveling. So there's so many ways that you can literally have your digital nomad cake and eat it too. And I just want to encourage people that's why we said digital nomad beyond 50. Now, granted, it's not like a hard line. We have people who are in their mid to late 40s who are welcome to join, because they're in the planning stages for all of this, or they're getting ready to start, but they still recognize that there is a difference. When you look at a lot of the digital nomads that are out there, the typical profile that people think of are millennials, or the 30s and early 30s or whatever. But there are actually more and more people who are taking this route. And as I mentioned before, we're going to be the number one resource and network for digital nomads beyond 50. Yeah.
Oh,
that's my goal.
I love that. I absolutely love it. And so it is. I think it's a really nice segment of the population to tap into, something really new and innovative, because again, like we said earlier, a lot of people in that age group are, maybe there might be some that are really tech savvy, but, and they want to travel. So this is a great way to encourage and motivate folks. I am so excited that we're going to have to do a part 2 and maybe just touch base on this phenomenon, this nomad thing, because it's really important for people to know all the options that they have, because there are so many options available to us as travelers.
And even as you mentioned about the tech issue, we have also, as a member of the group, people who have websites, who are sharing information regarding what type of technical jobs are available as well, that you can do remotely with requiring more technical skills, as well as those that require, it's still remote, it's still on the computer, but it doesn't require the same level of technical skills that some people are afraid of. So I just wanted to make sure that I got that in there as well too.
Sure, that's really important. So one more time, a plug for your Facebook group.
And thank you for letting me slip as many plugs in there as possible.
Yes, I'm letting you slide with this.
It is Digital Nomads Beyond 50 Network. And then there's also Digital Nomad Beyond 50 page. We have the page, and then the page is more just a lot of just the resources, and then if you want to interact, if you want to have conversations with people and hear what people are talking about their life as digital nomads, about what they're planning to do, if you want to be in on that conversation, then you want to join the group. and get in with that. Even if you want to just eavesdrop on the conversation for a couple of months at first.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea if you're shy. Well, Siobhan, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to share this really interesting and intriguing idea. And all the best. I hope that you make this a raving success, and we're going to get it out there well, we'd like more people to get to know what you've started, and I think it'll benefit a lot of people.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
And enjoy your best life in Ecuador. Oh, before we go, any plans for your next adventure? Do you have another spot that you're thinking of?
Well, I am, as I mentioned before, I am originally from Belize, but I've been traveling on my U.S. passport for, really most of my life. And so as we know, the U.S. passport is a bit limiting right now. So I am leaving here to go to Panama, and I'm going to island hop through Central America, not island hop, but country hop, because they're not islands, country hop through Central America to get back to Belize, spend a little bit of time in Panama, which is a country I've never visited before, Costa Rica, Guatemala, then get back to Belize, renew my Belize passport, and spend some time actually exploring Belize. Because when I was growing up in Belize, I had elderly grandparents who I was living with. So I lived primarily in the city. So I'm going to spend, I love my country, Belize. I love it, but I don't know beyond Belize City. So I'm going to spend some time exploring Belize. And then I am hoping that with my Belize passport to make a hip trip over to your home country of Cuba. So that might be my next, after I deal with Belize, that might be my next destination.
I love it. I love it. And you might have a visitor while you're there. So be on the lookout.
Excellent.
Thank you so much, Siobhan, for sharing a little bit of your exciting project and your life in Ecuador with us. And we look forward to connecting with you again for maybe a part 2.
Excellent. I'd love it. Thank you so much. This has been an honor.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye.